Hey guys, I just wanted to get on here real quick and talk about something that I've been thinking about lately, and that is Down syndrome. Um, I grew up with a lot of people with Down syndrome. My childhood bully had Down syndrome. Well, I had a friend as a kid who had Down syndrome, and he was like sometimes he would be kind of rude to me, and his name was Kyle. I don't. He's probably not gonna see this, but I grew up in like a safe area in Southern California. So sometimes we'd leave the front door unlocked. It was that kind of neighborhood. Yeah, I know. It's very, not white. It's actually very Asian. It was mostly Korean neighborhood. That's why I'm an Asian supremacist. And sometimes I would come home from school and Kyle would be in my fridge, in my kitchen, just going through the fridge, eating uh, my family's food. And I'd have to call his mom and be like, hey, you know, this guy, he got out and he's in my house eating my food. Damn, thinking about this now, I'm like, shit, if that happened in Texas, that motherfucker would have got smoked. But I felt like it was innocent at the time. I didn't think it was a threat to my safety. It was just, uh, your retard got out. And and then there was this other Down syndrome kid at school who he pooped in his hand and smeared it all over the wall in the bathroom, which I feel like is a common thing in the Down syndrome realm because it's like God's paintbrush. I mean, it's right there. You can make a big statement. You can make a lot of art pretty quickly, low effort. So I don't know. I've always been under the impression that the goal of humanity is to become retarded, just based on the chemicals and substances me and my friends have done. And I've always held this belief that like being retarded meant you were happy, and I think that it would be better to live life as a retarded person. That's something I've always believed. I think I'm sure a lot of you can agree. But I found something out recently which is probably the most fucked up thing I've ever laughed at. And I just want to preface this by saying I don't think this is funny. Yes, it makes me laugh, but I don't think it's fun. I don't know how to listen. If you're watching this, you probably don't care, but apparently Down syndrome people get depressed, which I didn't think that was possible. I thought they were all happy and they just have really long tongues and super strength. Weird weird characteristics for a disease to give you. But so I'm talking to my friend, right? This girl, special ed teacher. And she said that Down syndrome people actually have a lot of suicidal thoughts, and that she knows of like 5 Down syndrome people that tried to kill themselves. And I was like, what? Suicidal? But they're retarded. That means you're happy. That's like the pinnacle of consciousness. In what? Well, I don't know. It's emotionally. Emotionally is the pinnacle of consciousness. You get to do human things, but you also feel like a dog or whatever. So I'm startled. I'm surprised, and I'm like, well, how do they kill themselves? How did what like what's an example? And she was like, well, one student walked out into the middle of the street and stood there, but nothing happened because it was a 20-mile-per-hour speed zone. And I started laughing hysterically. Now, keep in mind, this is supposed to be, it was, at the time, it was more of a serious conversation where we're like kind of comparing notes to doctor professionals. But and I was like, I don't, that's not funny. She was like, that's not funny. And I was like, yeah, I don't think it's funny, but I could not stop laughing. And then I was like, well, how did the other one try to kill themselves? And she was like, they tried to electrocute themselves in a bathtub with a hairdryer. And I was like, well, what happened? It didn't work. And she was like, the hairdryer wasn't plugged in. And I was like, oh my God, these are all going to be the funniest things I've ever heard. And it's not funny. That's fucked up. Retarded people killing themselves is like the worst thing I can think of. But for some reason, this reflex in me was laughter. And I'm like, man, am I just a terrible person? And that may be so, but I don't think I could tell that to many people who wouldn't think it's funny. Let me know what you guys think, okay? Am I a terrible person, or is that funny? But then it took a darker turn, because I'm like, wait, they want to die, but they can't. They're too stupid to kill themselves. That sucks. That is the worst existence I can think of. Like, half of what gets me through the day sometimes is knowing that I could just easily kill myself. And I don't, ever. And that's how I know that my life is awesome. Because I could take it away, but I don't. I don't ever. But if I didn't have the choice, I'd feel kind of stuck. I'd feel kind of like I would probably look for a way to do it, like, just in case. And that would have weird ripple effects. I don't know. Basically, I guess being retarded sucks. And, well, I guess it's like life in general. Some people's lives suck. Some people are happy. But I saw this girl on Instagram. It was like an ad. And the ad was basically like a pro Down syndrome thing. Like, hey, we're just like everyone else. Which seems kind of irresponsible. But I support equality. I don't know, dude. So this chick she's got a ponytail, she has Down syndrome, and she has brown hair. I'm just trying to paint a picture here. And she's looking at the camera, and she's in a bar. And then she's like, you assume I can't have a margarita, so I don't have a margarita. And then she's drinking orange juice. So right off the bat, what I noticed about this girl is she just sounds like a dumb bitch. Like, she just sounds like any other chick, which immediately, that makes you lose interest. Because you're like, you see those girls in like OnlyFans interviews and stuff, and they're just like, nah, 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 and they got like nothing to say. So like, I would rather she had the retard voice, because that would be unique, that would be special. But she just sounds like a regular person. And it kind of kills the magic. You're like, wait, do you have Down syndrome, or are you look like that? And then she goes on to be like, and you assume that I can't fight, so I don't learn how to fight. And then she's doing like boxing stuff, and then she's like, also I can fucking cuss. And then it's just like, assume we can, Down syndrome people. And I'm like, what the fuck? What, like, yeah, I agree with the message with like, let Down syndrome people do more stuff. Cool. But like, why you gotta pick alcohol, fighting, and cussing? Why are those the three things that you want to spread the message of Down syndrome people should be able to do that? So it just seems a little weird. Is the systemic controlling of the media and forcible detestosteronization of the male youth seeping into the special ed realm? Is that that's where I'm gonna go with this. But also, I did a man. This isn't gonna make sense. There's like I don't know. There's like a joke online, and between me and 6 of my friends on an acid trip in Pismo Beach like 5 years ago, that Down syndrome people say the word potato. I don't know where this joke came from. Maybe it's like an internet meme. There's something about Down syndrome people and a potato, and then you put them together, and then that's comedy. So, potato is a funny word, I guess. My buddy Mateo's podcast when I first started training with him, they were in class. He'd be like sparring, and they'd be like, "Get him, potato!" And I was like, "What?" But it was Mateo. So, anyways, this chick, they're like asking her what her favorite food is. I did a deep dive on her Instagram because I'm like, is she a psyop? Are they psyoping us with Down syndrome people now? And I find this video. She's getting interviewed about her favorite food, and they're like, "What's your favorite food?" And she's like, "I don't even care, just as long as it has potatoes." And then she's like, "Oh, you just care about the potatoes?" She's like, "I just gotta have my potatoes." And that was funny. That was hilarious. Now, is it wrong to laugh at these things? I'm going to say no, because honestly, I wouldn't say this stuff to a Down syndrome person, and I don't think that they're going to find this video. But also, if my heart is telling me it's funny, how could I be wrong? Oh yeah, back to the just being a bad person thing. All right, well, most of you guys are cool and are going to get it. But what if there was a retarded rapper named Trisomy 21 Savage? That'd be fun. But yeah, Down syndrome influencers, I think that's cool. I like when they let retarded people do cool things. I don't think she runs the account. I'm not like talking down on retarded people, you guys. I'm just they're there, and I'm just like that's going on. I tried to do this joke about how we should enslave retarded people, and since if you have an extra chromosome, you're technically not a human, so you don't get human rights, and we could like build houses with them. I did that. I did that at a mic and a few times, and it just bombed terribly every single time. And I was like, oh, I guess that's not funny. But it's not funny because it's just like rude, you know. It's not. There's no payoff. It's funny conversationally, or even in a podcast, but not now because that's too meta because I'm talking about it. But comedy's a wild beast. All right, I'm high as hell.